Hi, my name is Aksik, aka Annika, and welcome to my channel. Very happy to see you here with me. And on this channel we mostly talk about adult coloring and art materials and whatever pops into my head while I'm coloring. And today's video is going to be kind of a vlog, kind of a journal, kind of a bits and pieces from here and there that I've filmed during the last couple of weeks. I have not had, August has been, I think, worse than July was, coloring wise. It's just, this summer hasn't been great for me. My head has been totally clogged really badly with my rhinitis. And it's been hot, and yeah, I haven't really been very inspired. Plus, I kind of tend to be very tired in the evenings because work is crazy at the moment. But, you know, some things still have moved and I have done stuff, so that's something. Anyways, this is now my new book. I thought I'm going to have, just on its own, a marker fell from my marker rack. That's interesting. Poltergeist. Anyways, I got Christine Karron's book. I caved. I, for longest time, said, I'm not going to get it. You know, I have enough portrait books. I'm not even, you know, I do like her, but she is occasionally a bit too cutesy, you know, for me. But some of her portraits I really like, some of them not that much. And I've heard so many good things about paper, and I've seen wonderful works from so many people. Like I saw Jackie working in it, and Jackie from Spare Room Studio, and she's doing fantastic stuff in it. I was like, okay, you know, I'm going to get the new one. And it seems that the new one, and you know, that because, you know, I wanted to kind of experience, you know, what the paper was like, and also kind of test what I think of the paper, and you know, what works in it and what doesn't. And yes, the paper is beautiful, and of course, you know, Christine's line art is really pretty. And as I said, like some portraits I just like better than others. Like I like this one. I do like this one. That one's cute. This one actually could be, you know, interestingly done. Kind of almost tempted to do something. This one, yeah, maybe. This one maybe, you know, kind of a February type of a thing. That's a cute Christmas one. I like this one quite a bit. This one is nice. Yeah, there's quite a few actually here that I kind of fancy. And that's really pretty. I like her. She's beautiful. And I like her Fae. I especially like the Orc Girl, but I've seen so many versions of it. So yeah, I'm trying to kind of pick for myself a page that I can just, you know, kind of play a little bit here in the beginning of the video. I thought I'll try out a thing or two. That is really cute. That's very kind of a traditional, very, you know, if you just feel like doing very simple portrait without, you know, too many fiddly bits, you know, this is kind of perfect for it. And sometimes I do feel like it. I am unsure how much I'm going to like the grayscale thing. I do usually prefer to put my own shading into the portraits as opposed to kind of follow, you know, what the artist has put in. But at the same time, it might make my life easier. Maybe it's faster, you know, to do it. Yeah, that one is alright. That one I kind of like. It'd be pretty beautiful. Kind of do it with very limited color palette, muted. This one is alright. That one, I've seen it done a lot, and it's not one of my favorites of hers. Something about this face is off. I don't know what. The smile is somehow off. And the jawline, yeah, something is just not gelling with me here. I really like that one. That's really cute. The freckles and everything. That's one of the ones I kind of want to do. I will probably keep that for May, you know, these mermaids. This has pretty heavy grayscale. Huh. I'm kind of curious. Would it be possible to put something on top there? That's very cute. I love that one. Would be beautiful for doing kind of a dark skin tutorial maybe. It's, you know, beautiful face. Beautiful angle as well. And it's not overdone. This is really pretty. It's not my favorite. That's also not one of my favorites. Love that one. This is what I, you know, like, this face is too cutesy for me, too kind of a doll, like, you know, those huge eyes and pouty mouth. Really like that image. I've done it ages ago, but it came out real bad. And I did not like, you know, how I did it. So, you know, if there was a page I would like to do again, it would be that one. There were parts of it I kind of liked, but it just didn't. I didn't realize the potential of that image. And that's cute. Yeah, it wasn't really meant to be a flip through. It was more so me trying to pick a page. So I'm kind of giving you what you'd never asked for. Well, that's pretty as well. But I want something simple that I can just stick some. And this is once again these, you know, that doll face. I do understand, you know, that it's super cute. Those faces never sat really well in me. So what am I going to do? That's the one from the cover. I'm not going to do that at the moment. And flowers. That's kind of cute. I want to do that in the autumn. I like that face. You know, she has a bit more, I don't know, character or a bit of a fierceness and thoughtfulness. And, you know, I like the expression on her face. So I would love to do that one. This is a really cute Halloween one. Okay, so let's find what I should toss some color onto. Frost is wrong for at the moment. I don't really want to do it. I don't really fancy that face. Maybe that one. I don't want to do your really complicated or large one at the moment. Something with a bit of a smaller face. Oh, hey, this one. Okay. So, this is light beige. I'm going to put it down. Does it? Oh yeah, it really does. As people have said that, you know, the water-based media doesn't immediately sink in. It stays in the surface for a while, so you can still kind of work it. I'm going to leave the nose, tip of the nose, white. And I'm just going to put the color all over the face. Might as well stick it. Actually, I should leave the arm alone. I should do that later, you know. Just concentrate on the face. Okay, and next one, whatever. It's pale pink. Pale pink. Pale pink into the nose. Here we go. And here in the neck and here and maybe here. I'm going to work Oops, wrong pen. That's fine. Yeah, I can kind of dissolve things and blend them out on the paper, which is kind of cool. It's not ideal. It does leave a bit of a, I don't know, unless the paper is like wet. Okay. And what else is there? Okay, so I need to put in some shadows, so I'm using English lavender to kind of stick into some cool areas. Shadows. This is now kind of my typical lazy shading with colors situation. And just interesting, you know, how it'll come out. I'm not trying to be very neat and tidy, and this is not, you know, I like this image, but it's not one of my big favorites here, so okay. And I'm going to go over it with that pink as well. And with this pink, going over that lavender with it to tone down the violet tones. Okay, putting that into the neck as well, bringing it into the cheeks. I should put something darker in there as well. All right, there's something there, and I'm trying to quickly soften things with this light beige. I'm just curious if I can just do the blending here with real brush pens directly on the paper, because there has been a lot of praising I've heard for this paper, that you can really, you know, you work your water-based materials really well here. So I'm just curious how true it is. And I chose the real brush pens because you can put down quite a lot of layers with them without damaging paper, because of the real, you know, the brush, it doesn't really peel the paper up. Okay, so I need to put some color here. Okay, I need something darker there. Putting some more pink here, and more pink here, more pink here. Okay, there needs to be something darker there as well. I need this color again. Okay, adding that English lavender again, and just making shadows a bit stronger there, and going over with natural beige. I'm just tossing colors down at the moment without any rhyme or reason. Don't consider that in any way to be a tutorial, just playing with color. But yeah, you should be able to do quite a lot here with even real brush pens without much. Yeah, you can blend them out as long as you work, fairly quickly. And possibly, you don't take one of the really big portraits where things, kind of dry faster. Then it should be fine. Yeah, that's quite interesting. Okay, I'll keep working, and I'm going to also show you my clips, what I have filmed. There's kind of a weird mishmash of stuff, but hopefully there's something that takes your fancy there. So see you back with that portrait at the end. My plan is to base that image, especially that cute red panda, with Languo acrylic markers, the brush markers, the direct feed ones, like this tip. And I'm using, well, at least for the panda mostly, I am going to use the Fiery Oranges and Reds set. I think it's also called Warm Yellows. It depends what website and what listing you're buying it from. So I am going to do the orange first, and that would be number RY05. And I'm just going to put it down, and I'm picking it up from the tip of the marker. I'm not actually putting the marker onto the page. Excuse me. So I'm making sure that my water brush is juicy, and I keep occasionally shaking the marker to make sure that the paint flows into the marker there, so I can keep the flow going and have enough paint to base the image. And I'm going to use that essentially as an acrylic wash, and in this case it actually is acrylic wash because I'm not putting anything on the paper. It's very diluted. So I know that this needs to be dark brown here, but I'm going to put the orange base down first, and then I'm going to go in later on with darker colors around the eyes. I think the eyes are supposed to have this kind of a mask around them, if I remember correctly. Then again, it's my book, my rules. If I do it wrong, well, it was just artistic license. AKA, I was too lazy to look it up. So yeah, just, you can see and occasionally I shake the marker. And if I shake it over the kind of the coloring page, it's a good idea to kind of block the page, or put the paper towel underneath, so I wouldn't get too much of a spray. Although I did get some spray already, I was already a bit sloppy, but it's fine. I'm going to paint over it. So just making sure. I don't remember if they had anything white underneath their chin, but in my version they don't, because I already went in with orange, and thus the chest is going to be orange, or whatever, red. although it's more so burnt orange. I will later on eventually put pencils, of course, on top here, but at the moment I think this is a piece of, yeah, that's a tree or a branch running there. Just deepening the color a bit. Okay. Okay, and I'm going to also do the stripes. Some of the stripes are going to be red, some of the stripes are going to be darker. So I need to make sure that I put the necessary color down. I haven't yet decided what I'm going to do with the background. This is quite unusual for me because more often than not, I have the background sorted and then I go in the main image. But here I just felt like start, you know, and I would like to start basing from the panda. I need to put darker orange here where it would be kind of in the shadow. Okay. And okay, and now I'm going to stick some, I'm taking now the darker, so in this set it's going to be RY08, so the darkest, and I'm going to make darker pores, and I also need to do somehow like this, the kind of a dark patch, dark mask for the eyes, but I'm going to start with insides of the ears first. Okay, this is nice and dark. Okay, here goes. I'm not really sure what I'm doing, but I will. Okay. And I wiped some paint off into the tissue there, making sure that the brush was still fairly wet, and then blended it out a bit. So I'm going to take it from here, making a little mask that goes up to these white eyebrow bits there. Okay. And I'm going to wipe it off again and see if I can soften the edges of the mask a bit. Okay, that looks better. And now I need to do the pores, and I need to shake the marker again to make sure that it has plenty of ink in it, and to make sure that I have nice water flow in the water brush. Of course, if you're doing that sort of a thing, you know, washing out water brushes with acrylic, essentially what is acrylic ink or acrylic paint, one thing you need to really make sure of afterwards is that you are going to clean the water brushes real well. Otherwise, you're going to ruin your water brushes. Because if that stuff dries, it becomes waterproof as any acrylic. So that is something we need to keep in mind. Okay, let's see if I can get more paint off. It's because the paws need to be darker, the legs. Okay. And as you can see, I was a bit sloppy here, but never mind. It's going to be more or less fixed. And I'm making sure that I wash that out gently. Can I darken those legs a bit? Because I feel that they could be a bit darker. Of course, if I was doing it without camera, I would let it dry a little bit between the coats here, because if you put more paint here on top of already wet surface on this paper, although it's a very decent paper, but it will eventually go through if you keep working paint into already wet surface. If you let it dry in between, say you're gonna be fine. But at the moment, we just don't care. So I will also put another layer here in the ears, just to darken them a bit. And then I'm going to do a bit of a shaking. Okay. And I'm going to do the tail as a... And afterwards I'll put kind of a... When everything is dry, I'll go in with a bit of pencil. There's no heavy shading needed in these images because they are kind of a more cutesy and stylized. You can, of course, go to the town, but often just a little bit of a... Just a little bit of extra shading is totally enough to give the image a bit of a lift. Here I might even kind of brighten, because I kind of tried not to go too orange or kind of a too bright with his or her coat. And now I'm looking, that I might have actually gone a little bit brighter. So what I might do eventually is that when I'm putting pencils on top, I might kind of add a bit of a warm tones. So it would be the more vibrant, because it is kind of those images benefit from being kind of really punchy and vibrant. You can see yourself. I really love the art in these books. They are, this is Camilla Garofano. I saw them on Maya's channel. Here, that is the name, Camilla Garofano. And they are fantastic, fantastic books. So yeah, this is okay now for a base, and once it dries, it'll be very easy to go on top with pencils. One of the things I like about Maria Trolle line art is that it's so very clearly hand-drawn. If you look at her leaves or her petals, nothing is just copy-pasted. They are all distinct. They are all none of them are identical, they're all unique. So yeah, really appreciate that, which of course means that it's quite kind of easy or nice to also make them look more natural, because you don't color them exactly the same. This, I think, is one of the things, if you want to get kind of really nice and interesting results with leaves, then don't make them identical, because they never are in the nature. It all depends on how the light hits them. It all depends on, maybe there's little imperfections. There's always going to be slight variations in shape, or how the leaf curves, or the size of the leaf. So I just think that, well, it's just not just me, but genuinely, if you make them all a little bit different and sometimes a little bit wonky, they actually look better. So here you can see also that, I've actually only finished, some bit of leaves, these leaves here. These I've just started, but I haven't finished them yet. So you can see that they're all, I have used a bunch of the same colors, but I keep varying them. I don't use exactly the same colors on all the leaves. I vary how the shadows fall, and but at the same time, it's me, so I like my coloring fairly kind of a deeply contrasted and saturated, so you can see that my shadows are deep. And if you want deep shadows, or if you want kind of a similar look, the main thing you need is pencil set with good darks. And Chromaflow is one of these sets. They have fantastic greens, and they also have fantastic really dark, deep greens. Actually, even in the 72 set, where these ones are for, 72 set, because I just happen to have that 72 box in one of the little coloring trolleys that is pretty much next to my desk. So that's why I am using and showing you the 72 set. The pencils in the 72 set, but there's even more options in 150 set, obviously. But even in 72 set, you have one of the best greens I think is on the market, best dark greens, which is called Obsidian Green. It's Obsidian Green, this one. And of course, these ones, like, you don't have to buy the whole set to just get the pencils you want, because Chromaflows are available, open stock, and they're quite reasonably priced. Of course, they are soft pencils, so you're going through them, faster than you would like through polychromos, but it's still not as fast as, for example, like Prismacolor. So here I'm going to show you how dark this obsidian green, obsidian being black. So essentially it's green black, and it's such a good deepener, for anything that involves kind of greenery. It's also very natural, very deep, kind of muted, beautiful green. And another one which is really nice and dark green in that set is basil. Oh, if I only knew which one is correct now. But this one has a bit more of a kind of, this is more kind of a green, less muted, but still very kind of a foresty, very earthy, very natural green. Most of Derwent greens. That's why I like Derwent colors, because they are by nature already, they aim for more earthy colors, and they have a lot more kind of a difficult and muted colors than many other sets. And to get them in kind of nice, good quality pencils like this, I just love my Chromaflows, and I use them pretty often if I actually want to. To me, they are on par with Prismacolors. I know this is debatable, and I will talk about that once I get to my art materials and pencil videos, because I need to make more than one video. I will probably go into more detail if I talk about what I think about pencils, and my opinions are sometimes, they're not controversial as such. That's putting too much of an oomph to them, but they do often differ from widely accepted ones' opinions. It's just everybody has their own style, everybody has their own taste and opinions, and sometimes mine can be a bit different than others. So I thought I'll show you kind of, quickly on one leaf maybe, how I go about doing leaves. So basically, if I do them like that, if I do them kind of in deep, multicolored, varied way like this, I have a couple finished here as well, which I, because they're kind of a bit underneath other ones, these couple here, I made them slightly differently and darker, so they would go more to the background, kind of less contrast on them. They kind of disappear a bit into the background more, which is what I wanted. I didn't put very bright highlights on them. So I have this handful of pencils, and I pretty much, use them all, but not on all the leaves. As I said, I keep kind of playing and varying and, grabbing, one pencil and just deciding, okay, this one is going to be a bit more muted on this side. So this side gets more muted tones. This one has the sunlight hitting it or some light hitting it. This side here, like here, that side of the leaf is more muted and slightly darker and more kind of in shadow. And this side obviously has some light hitting from above and it's brighter. So even within one leaf, on kind of the side of the leaf, I can play with variations. So here I have how many pencils? So let me count. This is 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 pencils, okay? And they're just, making leaves. So let's try kind of a quickly show with one leaf, okay? So maybe take this one here, and obviously the petals are throwing quite a bit of shadow, and I go in because those are such soft pencils and they're essentially almost smushable. They're not quite Prisma level smushable. That's, the word we have all accepted, smushability. But they are, you can pretty much kind of pretty heavy-handedly blend them together on the paper. And then I'm going to, because I want them kind of high contrast, I just, like that look. Not always, but I do really enjoy, having really the deep shadows and bright highlights look often. And then I am going on both sides of the stem, and I'm putting down pencil heavily. I'm not being shy about it, and I'm doing it on both sides. I just want to bring that center stem here forward. Okay, and then I am giving a soft layer of shadows and slightly blending out, or kind of soft blending out the shadow that is coming from the petal. And now I'm taking all these kind of lines and I'm just going over them with dark pencil. And then I'm also doing a bit of a soft blending towards the center stem, so they wouldn't be just, dark. And the center stem wouldn't have such a sharp shadow on both sides. It's more of a softened. And once again, and I'm giving a bit of a, and once I've done this, I've essentially put down, like this for me is almost the main work done. After that, I'm just going to play with colors. But this is essentially kind of mapping the shadows. And I think that is almost the most kind of difficult and sometimes the most time-consuming part. Just map them out. I map them out. This is how I do it. You do not have to do it like this. But, it's an option. Yeah, it also does not have to be Chromaflow. Prismacolor also has, but I do not, like, Prismacolor does not have equivalent to Obsidian Green. That's sort of almost black green muted. Absolutely love that color. To me, it's very unique. I think Light Fasts might have also that. And Iosco Light Fasts being one of my favorite ever pencils. As I said, Derwent colors just, palette just suits me. And as you could see what I was doing here, I'm taking, often I would, leave one of the edges of the leaf kind of exposed and maybe make a lighter highlight and let the light hit it there. But here I'm actually giving the leaves really dark. I am covering the line art here, but I'm covering it by coloring over it with a really dark pencil. And I'm maybe slightly softening and bringing it more in, but I want the outline. And now essentially I have the shadow base down. Now I've mapped the shadows for myself. I'm making the tips pretty dark on both sides of the stem. Okay, and now I start just picking up pencils, from this pile, kind of deciding as I go. These 3 leaves here are, clearly I've planned them to be pretty bright, because the other ones in the background here, the base I put to them, you can see it's more muted. So I wanted these to be kind of hit by the light. So let's hit them with light. Well, first let's kind of play with that shadow, kind of soften that shadow. So I took the basil, which is kind of the next darkest pencil I have in this. It's 1600 basil, or basil. Please forgive me. And I'm just going to softly kind of carry the shadow out and kind of vary the color of the shadow a bit, so it wouldn't just be that, one very dark. And at this stage, you can also, if you want some imperfections in the leaves, maybe you want a little spot here or something like this, which actually all, make the leaf or leaves looking more natural, so they wouldn't be all uniform and colored exactly the same way. And yeah, I just, add that color, that also dark color, but not as dark, and kind of more of a green color. I'm adding it to the dark areas, and I'm bringing it slightly out from the dark areas that I put down, the kind of a shadow mapping. Okay, that's it. And then I'm not using very cool. I have eucalyptus here as well, but I'm not using very cool greens here. So I am now going to jump into something brighter. So let me see. Next, I'm going to go in with grass green. And you can see that it's quite a jump, but it's possible because I kind of have, mid-tones slightly down. And also because Chromaflows just blend so well. If you do kind of this soft outblending, you can get away with pretty big jumps. So I don't really feel a need to... sometimes I don't need to have 3-4 kind of a steps, for the gradient. I can essentially create that with 2 pencils because of the blendability of these pencils, which is one of the reasons I really like them, because that can speed up the coloring quite a bit. So I'm going over with this pencil, which is called grass green, and it is really bright, really vibrant green. So it does not have to be that specific green, but you can see the color. It's beautiful, warm. And once again, although it is very warm and very bright, but it's not unnatural green. They're all, absolutely greens that, you have seen in nature and do exist. This is like sunlit, bright green. which, you know, grass green, that pretty much tells you. So you're essentially kind of blending out the dark areas with it. You're going over with the dark areas with it and then blending it out to other areas. Sorry, I had a big sneeze and I had to switch off the camera for a while to deal with that. My allergies are, torturing me. Have actually been doing that a big part of this. Some summers are bigger, some are worse, and this summer has not been good for me. I'm either halfway in the cloth because my head, you know, is the allergies, and the rhinitis is really making me groggy and tired, or, you know, the heat is doing pretty much the same job. So it's not been a great summer for me. Well, summer is my favorite time of the year anyway. I love autumn, winter, love long nights. I actually like dark nights. Okay, so grass green, we finished with that. And now, since this specific leaf, I want it pretty bright, so I'm taking pear, which is also, it's just gorgeous color. It's just beautiful yellow green, but not over bright. Like, it's not artificially bright. It is bright. It's kind of natural bright. This is, yeah, that, you know, why I love Chromaflow colors so much and why I like them so much. And this is entirely a matter of taste. And I'm just going over now the lighter areas that I haven't really touched with the pencils yet, you know. So, and they also go really nicely over watercolors, you know, the watercolor kind of grips them really beautifully to the page. And you can see, you know, that leaf is almost there. And then I'm taking white. I'm going over that stem in the middle, but I'm not going to leave it totally white like this. I just kind of brightened it, and because there was watercolor underneath, that kind of gripped the white really nicely, so I brightened that stem, kind of cleaned it. I'm going to get the grass green again, which, you know, I'm putting it on top, but because I now put white here, you know, it looks brighter than it would have been just on a random area. And I'm also taking a little bit of pear, or this yellow green, which, you know, as I said, they don't have to be Chromaflows that you're using. And I made this little imperfection here, you know, this bit. So I take some slate gray, which is kind of bluish green. Sorry, not bluish green, but bluish gray. And I'm going to kind of give it a bit more depth and maybe bring it out. Maybe add some bit of a obsidian to it as well. Just kind of soften things. It's just kind of a random little imperfection, which doesn't really. And I'm going to put some white pencil on some sides of it, so it looks like it has some raised edges maybe, or kind of a hole, or kind of a stain on the leaf. And then what I've been doing on this specific page, I've been adding strawberry. It's called strawberry. It's beautiful, kind of an earthy, I don't even know how to describe that color. Reddish, earthy terracotta. It has kind of orange undertones, but at the same time, you know, it is red. Very, you know, I find it a beautifully unique color. And I'm adding that a bit to the shadows as well. Not everywhere, you know, here and there. Just to kind of add some more dimension and interest. Random spots, essentially. adds some totally different color. And by the way, if you don't have obsidian and you're struggling, you know, in your sets to find something, obsidian green or something like this, and you're struggling in your set to find really dark, kind of strong greens, use dark blue instead of green, and then go over it with other greens, and you can get pretty cool results like that as well, basically. Here, and there you go. And I think that came out pretty fun. So if you go, and the way I usually go is that I take a bunch of leaves and I do all the shadows first, and, you know, kind of I do it by areas. I don't do by one leaf, but I did, you know, by one leaf here, because I just showed you how I am doing a random leaf in that style. So there, no fancy stuff today, just a bit of play with pencils. This is one of my favorite coloring books. It's called Occult and Folklore coloring book. I'm, you know, very interested and enthusiastic about everything folklore. Not that much about occult, but I don't really find it very occulty. There are a couple of images that are kind of venturing into that territory, but yeah, it's mostly kind of a mythology and folklore. And I like the art style. It's kind of interesting and different. Yeah, I know that the theme, the kind of the words, you know, occult, put a lot of people off, but it really is interesting coloring book on, you know, a good paper and fun images. So here, this one is based, well, first I did it with satin glazing, the whole spread. Satin glazing with white acrylic paint kind of mixed in, so the line art kind of softened. And then I did a lot of it, the background, and, you know, the kind of a more solid bits were done with Languo acrylic markers, brush markers, the colorful blacks. And then the rest of it I pretty much based with different watercolors. So here I am starting now to kind of quickly shade, and what I'm using for shading here is mix of Harmonious pencils, Castel Arts, and the pasteltints, yeah, pasteltints. So it's foxglove and pine needles. I have put some, I've used kind of like different watercolors here for basing. I think these leaves were all based with granulating watercolors of different descriptions. So I'm just, you know, going to give them a bit of darkness, a bit of extra color. Now, I'm not trying to bring huge attention to these leaves. I'm just kind of tidying them up, really, and giving them a bit of an interest here, so they wouldn't be so bland or single-toned like they are at the moment. So I'm just putting point down, and the reason I'm using Harmonious and Pasteltints is that this is satin glazing base, after all, tends to kind of grab the pencil, and if you put very soft pencil on it, you get really strong texture, and also it will eat, you know, real nice soft pencils super fast. So I'm just using more kind of a harder pencil, and I consider Pasteltints, they're not exactly hard, but they are not, you know, super soft pencils. And they don't leave huge, like you can see, they're kind of soft enough, but they don't really leave huge amount of texture lines or kind of a texture marks, even on satin glazing base. So They kind of work really well for what I want here. And now I'm taking the foxglove and I'm just dropping it into the tips of the leaves to kind of bring them out from this mass of leaves. Just give them a bit of character. And I'm not, you know, trying to hugely smooth them out or make them in any way perfect. I'm just adding some interest because this is not where your eye is going to be going in a final image. It's kind of a part of the scene of the background. So I'm going to put some in here as well. I'm leaving the tip dark, actually. I'm going to actually darken the tip here. Yeah, that would work better in this instance. So yeah, another kind of a coloring on satin glazing base. And as you can see, Castel Arts pencils work on satin glazing base real nice. I don't know if you can see it slightly in the groove there. But you can see how much just adding a kind of a different or contrasting color, like these are the same leaves, you know, based like they were before. And just by adding a bit of dark and kind of a different color, how much it lifted them and how much more interesting it looks. It's as easy as that. Now, color variations. They really, really help. And there's, you know, very little work involved. You just kind of pick what color variations you're going to use. You can play with colors even that, you know, in your head, they don't really feel like they should go together. Especially kind of like blended together like this. But yeah, they would actually often work. So absolutely, you know, try different variations, you know, be bold about it. Nothing to be afraid of. After all, it's just a coloring page. And there's plenty of them in your books, I bet you. If you're in any way, like, you know, a lot of us, or me, or, you know, kind of, it seems like majority of us, you probably have way more coloring pages than you will ever be able to finish. So why not experiment? And if you don't like results, well, you try something different next time. You know, this is, of course, been a fairly safe combo. We all know that pink and green go really well together. This is like, you know, color wheel theme. But, you know, you can just try to put in some other things. You can try to put in, I don't know, like lavender, or, of course, yellows would work really well. You can stick in some bright reds even. Just play with colors. And of course, you know, ochres and browns are kind of safe bet pretty much always. And it's enjoyable too. And in this instance, like in many instances, I would have probably, you know, kind of, I haven't decided yet, but, you know, initially I thought that I would go over line art with a gel pen, you know, bring the lines out more. At the moment, I'm not sure if I'm going to do that. Will it kind of bring too much attention to the ground here? But I might. I haven't really made up my mind. I might even want to kind of brighten the tips of the flowers a bit more. I'm going to pull out this pencil. It's called Rosa, and see if I'm going to add more warmth. Does it show? It adds a little bit of warmth. It doesn't really do much. But, you know, that's what I mean by trying. Just drop in some different colors. It probably would have shown more if I hadn't put the pink everywhere, you know, underneath there. You know, if I just put it on top of it here, it will definitely show better. Yeah. Yeah. And here, you know, in the leaves, I will probably, you know, just put kind of one color of green, just a little bit, because I did them with granulating and color splitting watercolors, these trees. So they look kind of fun already. All I need to do is to add tiny bit of darkness, you know, kind of like where they overlap, just, you know, to add a bit of interest. And I will probably, these leaves and the kind of a fruit, whatever they are, apples, I will probably outline with gel pens as well. But I'm not sure about the grass yet. We'll see how this is going to work out. I'm being lazy with that tree trunk here, and I'm not sure I want to do too much pencil work on it. So I have 2 acrylic markers, as you do, and I'm putting down the dark one, already covering lines as I go, and then I'm quickly putting down the light one, covering a little bit of a line. And then I'm grabbing the water brush and I'm just first dissolving the dark one here, like this, kind of wetting it, and then going over the light marker, blending it gently into the darker one, and you get nice little gradient. Okay, I'm gonna get you closer for the other side so you can see well. And as when you have done the first layer, you can go over it with the lighter one again and gently go over the edge, so you get more of a highlight there if you want to. Here as well. This way you're also getting rid of the heavy line art if you want to. In this case, I kind of feel, yeah, I want to. So I'm going to pull that one down. I'm covering the line as well. And I'm going to put it here, giving it plenty of juice. Then I'm pulling that really light one onto the line. I can even shake it to get the flow more juicy. And now I'm going to go into the darker one, and I'm going to go over all of the dark area first to kind of get it wet and dissolve it a little bit. This needs to be done, like, you need to do small areas at a time. And now that I have it dissolved, I'm going to the right side and I'm dissolving that also, and at the same time gently pushing it into the darker area. And then I'm going to go over that lighter line again with the lighter marker. And the set I am using here for this one, it's Languo markers, and this I think is called Mylard, something like this. I'm gonna show you in a second the swatch. You can see which ones. I think they're really nice, kind of more muted, neutral browns. Wait a second. I have them swatched here somewhere. Yeah, that's the set here. It's called Mylard. I do not know how to don't know how to pronounce it. Anyway, these colors. So I'm using possibly this one, 708, and 701 here. So what basically adds up to the darkest and to the lightest. That's how lazy I am at the moment. Yeah, but I think it gives nice effect. And you can, keep adding, either darker tones or lighter tones, especially once it dries. But it's better to let it dry a little bit, before you add something else. Okay. And once again, here we go. So I'm going to take that one down here. All right. And I'm going to put the light marker down here. Just the main thing is to remember to work in small areas and work fairly quickly before the marker has time to, now I'm going to wipe it off. I have dissolved and wet the darker one, and now I'm going into the lighter one and dissolving it, and also kind of gently pulling it and blurring it into the darker area. And there we go. Now then, back to the Christine Karron book. This skin took me, what, maybe 10 minutes. Things need to be tidied up a bit with pencil. I need to tidy the eyes, especially because eventually, because of the pretty sharp blend I did, things bled a bit in the irises there and in the pupils. So I need to tidy them up with pencils once it all dries. But yeah, it's quite easy actually to, overcome the grayscale. There's a little bit still showing, but because I put pretty strong color variations in, and this is now really fast work, super quick. So yeah, I guess you can get, pretty good results very fast. And the paper really does withstand water-based materials really well, because I soaked it. There's a lot of pen here, and look, like there's almost nothing. There's, okay, of course there's ghosting, but in some, like where there's really dark color, and I put it onto the wet surface already, it has come through, but it doesn't even come through properly, even though I put a lot of color in. So yeah, and in most papers, you would pretty much have the same effect here as you would with alcohol marker. It would really show through. So yeah, the paper is fantastic. I can see myself playing here a fair bit, and playing especially with stuff like this, kind of easy, quick portrait. Could do the same, show how I do kind of the same thing with alcohol markers. Just throw colors down and mix them up and get quick results. There you go. Well, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you had something you liked or were interested in. Have a wonderful time, whatever it is, crafty time or just relaxing. Be happy, be healthy, be strong. If you like my videos, please like and subscribe. It really helps my channel, and bye bye.